Hey, what's up? I'm here with Michael Bonde, who just defeated Bob Huang in match number 3. Very
And
impressive.
hello.
Why don't you tell us about why you're playing Elves?
So I was a bit afraid that Death in Texas maybe wouldn't be the best deck for the Pro Tour. Because everyone was like prepared and it was like super hype. So I talked to Julian and tested out a lot of Elves. And then I didn't get to play it at the Pro Tour and actually think that it's kind of funny to play. So I wanted to sign up just to like surprise everyone who probably like put in infinite Dread of Nights and etc. in their in the sideboards.
Well, you didn't get to see this, but Bob's deck was sort of hedged versus both Death and Texas and Elves, having blazing volleys.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for him, he didn't get to cast a single one versus you, which probably. I mean, instead you had 2 Meek Stones versus 1 Abrade, and then the choke versus, well, all of his lands are islands, right? You know, good luck with that.
Yeah, so the deck really preys on, or the sideboard at least, really preys on Delver, because I was thinking that people would like sign up with either Grixis Delver or Rock Delver. Because there are some very good Grixis Delver players, you included. So I really wanted to just like go full out and just have a lot of sideboard cards. And it worked out in game 2 and 3.
Yeah, I mean, last year I got very lucky that Grixis Delver was probably the best deck, and I got to change my sideboard for each person as I expected. I played a lot of Grim Lava Monsters last year, that's for darn sure.
Yeah. So, Jarvis, what are we expecting here from the 2 players?
Oh, I have a suspicion that very few people could guess what Bryant's playing. Would you like to make a guess?
I think he's gonna play Storm.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll list 2 cards in his deck, or it will just come up. He has Terminus in his deck.
He's actually playing Miracles.
Yeah.
What a master. I think this deck is a good deck. It is somewhat of a, I wouldn't say easy deck, but it's one of the more easy brainstorm decks, in my opinion. So I like playing this shell in a field where there's a lot of like grindy matchups where you really get to play all your cards. And I can see that he's included the 3 Monastery Mentor. I don't know if that's like a set list that everyone does, but as a Death in Texas player, I really have a hard time beating Monastery Mentor when they're in the main deck.
I agree with that. And also post-board, it gets kind of weird. Do you like leave in your Source of Plowshares for the mentors or not? Like, it's such a bad card if you're not plowing a mentor, right?
Yes. And also, if we look at the sideboard, we see that he's really prepared. Like, it's even put up like in a really nice sheet here. So there's 2 Pyroblast, 1 Red Blast, and 3 Flusterstorm for either Storm or Sneak and Show, which the deck sometimes has a hard time playing against. And then just various combo decks. And then he plays like a sweet shell of some Disenchant, Surgicals, Back to Basics, Search, and Engineered Explosives. And then just 2 good guys or good girls in the Vendilion cliques. So this is a really nice, versatile sideboard that seems like it's hedging a bit against some sort of combo deck or a Sneaking Show.
Someone in the chat wants you to elaborate why you think Miracles is the easiest brainstorm deck.
I think most of the time, the blue-white shells, especially in Legacy, it kind of plays out. You brainstorm for answers and you ponder for answers because you really want to like set up what you're losing against. So you kill everything that gets on the board. You just try to like play a Hearthstone game where you just like sweep the board, kill the board, and just like having what's it called status quo on zero non-land permanents. So I think you don't have resources that are so hard to get with the deck because everything pretty much does the same. It's either card draw or a thing that kills your opponent's creatures.
Okay, so here, Julian, not deviating at all, trusty Elves with natural orders. That's a significant difference from what you just played.
Yeah, I played the Chaos Elves.
Yes. There's order in your deck. Only Chaos.
Yes. So I like playing Natural Order because it gives you some free wins and it really is super explosive. But I just get so angry when I draw the second Dryad Arbor on my starting hand that I just can't play with Natural Order. Like it gives me so much fury when I draw the second Dryad Arbor in my opening. So I'm playing with no Natural Order. But Julian is playing... Oh, okay, yeah. So we're down to the... So I guess for people who just tuned in, I'm Michael. This is Jarvis Yu. And we're watching a game between Elves from Julian Knab and Miracles from Bryant Cook.
So keep in mind here, I think I would put the advantage for us slightly towards Bryant right now, because Bryant is fairly certain that Julian is playing Elves, but Julian has no idea that Bryant's playing Miracles.
Yeah, and thank you, Magic C14NN for the subscription.
Yeah.
So if we have to talk about the advantage bar, I think, yes, Bryant thinks that Julian is playing Elves, probably. And Julian thinks that Bryant is playing Storm. So Julian's hand is actually pretty good to attack both Storm and attack like a grindy matchup with the Elvish Visionary. So he's not really that much down. And Bryant still has to find additional lands to keep this hand rolling.
Yep, so we're probably going to see Bryant fetch for Tundra and Portent himself on turn 1.
Yes, because it's like very rare that that Elves wins on turn 2, and he also has like the handbrake in the Force of Will if Julian goes off with a Glimpse of Nature.
So Arid Mace is a pretty welcome pickup. Might have to Portent for your too many lands, maybe just 1 or 2 lands now instead of like 3.
But as you're saying, he's still just casting the Potent, because he has the Force of Will if things should get out of hand. So he really just wants to try and like evolve this hand into something pretty. The Jaces are very good cards, but you still need 4 mana. So one of them is probably going to get pitched, and then the other one will hit the board in a couple of turns.
So one other nice thing about Portent is that it allows you to Miracle Terminus on your opponent's upkeep.
Yeah, it's a pretty sweet interaction. They lost the top, but they started playing the Portent so that they can do some really nasty things in the upkeep. So
Ponders are basically an updated version of Portent.
Yes,
it is. Which is kind of weird to think about. So interestingly, Bryant chose not to Force of Will the Glimpse. I think that's a fine decision when Julian has 2 cards in hand. The question is, do you Force of Will this Visionary?
You could Force of Will this Visionary because if he has an additional 1-drop, he really gets value out of the Glimpse of Nature. So I really like Bryant just stopping the action here. So Julian is only drawing 1 card for 1 card. So he's basically cycled the Glimpse of Nature.
Yep.
And then... Sorry, Jarvis.
I was wondering if you were supposed to just main phase Plow the Heritage Druid.
I think you want... At the moment, Bryant isn't like that much behind. So I think he wants to start either killing or keeping up the Spell Pierce. If you main phase the Heritage Druid, you kind of hedge against Julian playing Glimpse of Nature, but then you have the Spell Pierce. So I could see Bryant waiting like a turn or 2 to see what happens from Julian's side of the board.
Right. So I think one reason in my book to play the Plow right there is to keep them off of the mana, but also because I think if Bryant draws another land, you really want to Snapcaster Plow next turn. So in my book, this is the turn I would cast Plow if I'm going to cast it.
Yeah, I definitely agree on you wanting to to not let Julian go crazy when you only have the Glimpse of Nature in your hand. On the other hand, I can also see that Bryant is really down on resources here, like because he doesn't have the mana to deploy his cards. So both Jace and Search is a potential mulligan at this point.
Right.
So he's hoping for a snipe with the Spell Pierce and just like letting Julian go off and see if he really has to cast this Sword to Plowshares.
Oh,
which is actually paying off in this spot.
Yeah, the thing is, if we had just plowed the Heritage Druid, this couldn't even be cast this turn. But now, you do get to plow the hoof with the trigger on the stack, which is nice. And you only take 6 damage, which is fine, you know.
Yeah. So I really think that not plowing eventually turned out to be like an insane play. Bryant doesn't know Julian's hand, but Julian really like used all his mana, played a hoof just to see if he can close the game really fast. And now Julian is down on very few resources and at the mercy of the top.
That's an insane draw. It was actually 17 damage, I think, if the hoof got to attack alongside the Nettle Sentinel. And Bryant
it's true.
So might as well go for it if you think.
Yep. It's true.
Bryant looks to be in pretty good shape now, I think. I mean, just a clean 4 for 1.
Yep. So now he's gonna, regardless of what he draws, he even drew the land. So he's gonna deploy the Sorcerer's Canter and keep up the Spell Pierce. See if he can hit an additional land on the top of his deck. Or he's actually gonna flip the Search. So
which is nice because it guarantees you your 4th mana no matter what for Jason Mind Sculptor.
Yeah. So the Terminus really changed the pace of the game. Now Bryant has like almost unlimited turns to start building up, and he actually has the cards that you can build a decent board with. So I would imagine that Julian is gonna see if he can get a Visionary here. But little does he know, it's gonna get pierced.
Pierced immediately, because honestly, if you don't pierce Zenith, or I think you just have to pierce the Zenith here, right?
Yeah. Especially because Julian already played a land, and next turn you have to flip the Canter, and then you also have like a Snapcaster with a Pierce or a Snapcaster with a Plow. So you're not even afraid of a Crater Hoof or Progenitus out of the natural order, because you have all the resources to deal with whatever Julian draws.
Agreed. And also, main deck Progenitus is not that common anyways.
No. But Julian is a madman, so playing Rurik Tower as his 61st card, then he would definitely be eligible to be the person who brings back Progenitus' main deck.
Kind of wondering if we were supposed to just slam Jace and bounce the Dryad Arbor.
You could do that. I think right now, Bryant is like 90-95% to win the game with the card that he has in his hand and an activation from Search from Ascanta. So he has to be thinking, how can I lose the game?
Exactly.
I can lose the game through Julian chaining some random, like the same way as you win turn 2 with Elves, like just being lucky. And it would be pretty brutal to have a no game against whatever Julian's nut draw would be.
Right.
Whereas now, Julian gets to Snapcaster Spell Pierce.
Which is great, because if you really need to, you can block the Dryad Arbor. Obviously, Pendelhaven just makes it not a trade, but you might want to just save the life points at some point.
Yeah. But I think depending on what he draws here, Bryant, I think he's going to slam Jace if it's a non-interactive card, like a land or something. If it's a land, he's probably going to fire off Brainstorm. If it's a random whatever, he's going to bounce the Dryad Arbor, I think.
Interesting.
So he could put back the Back to Basics and the Terminus, and then play both Terminus and Jace the same turn.
So awkward some slight awkward anti-synergies. Back to basics, not particularly good with Escantus and Ruin, but I think it's an acceptable risk sometimes. And
Yes.
Here you're really not going to see Bryant even play the back to basics because I think his lands are way more valuable than Julian's.
Yeah. So I think having the Terminus on top gives him even more space to do his thing. So now he's not even afraid of Progenitus or a Rurik Thar. So we will probably see him just block with the Snapcaster Mage and then Terminus next turn, depending on what Julian plays.
Well, also you could just choose not to Miracle the Terminus, right?
You could do that, yeah, but I think he wants to... Yeah, I actually don't know. I just think he wants to activate the Search for Scanta and get rid of the card that he knows on top, if it's a bad card by Jace, with Jace. The fun thing here is that this is how most of the games tend to be with Miracles when they get ahead. It just takes them forever to win the game.
I don't think it's going to take that long, frankly.
So he did not Miracle the Terminus. So maybe...
sorry, but I think the reason not to Miracle Terminus is you can wait, especially if you just draw an instant speed cantrip.
Yep.
And it'll get a little bit better for you.
So now he's gonna see. So this is what Elves does from the status quo. They just try to play a glimpse and just chain it until they draw. So the best draw from Julian here will be a visionary. Yeah. To see if it resolves and then draw 2 cards and then be able to tap those and just keep on chaining the cards. So this is also a fine card because it gets to draw a card and then the visionary. So
yeah, that was actually really good for Julian. I don't think it's be good enough unless if we draw. Actually, it might be good enough. So here, for those of you who don't know, Nettle Sentinel plus Virtual Arrangers, basically, if you keep drawing 1-drops, you can basically play all of them.
Yeah. The thing is, though,
going broke, but he can predict to Miracle Terminus.
Yes, if he put Terminus on top, he can Snapcaster Brainstorm. If he put Back to Basics on top, he can predict Terminus here.
Looks like he's predicting himself, so he's naming Back to Basics and Miracling the Terminus.
Yep.
And I think that's a fine point to stop the chain because you don't want to let the Nettle Sentinel resolve. The Nettle Sentinel and Finhorn Elves resolve, otherwise he'll just keep casting more cards.
Yeah, and maybe something will happen. But right now, I think Julian played a land, and he has no mana floating, and he's playing the Finhorn Elves. So we're back to where where it started this turn. But this is actually pretty... Yeah, there's one more land. Yeah. But it was actually a pretty good turn for Julian. If he didn't have Terminus Bryant, it would actually be pretty sick because he just put 7 creatures on the board.
The one issue is, I think Julian only has 1 Craterhoof, and it already got plowed, so he couldn't actually win that turn.
Yeah, okay. That's a bit unfortunate.
That would have been unfortunate had the chain continued, because the problem is he doesn't have that auto win.
But I think eventually you'll draw a Wildwood Symbiote, and then you start getting 2 additional cards for each card with the Visionary. So you'll get a full board, and then you'll have a full hand. So if something happens, then
my apologies. Julian actually does have 2 hoofs. I was confused because your deck only had 1.
Yeah.
All right, so Force of Will on this natural order should lock things up.
Yeah, Julian really played, really drew like a chain of cards that put him back into the game, even though he was so far behind.
The problem was Bryant just had lots of stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
he eventually just had a lot of stuff. I agree.
So the joke is Monster Mentor is a Storm card, right? We've seen this in Vintage. We've seen it in combination with Sensei's Divine Top. It really is a Storm card in disguise.
Yeah. It's like the new card Psy, or whatever it's called.
Psy, Master Thopterist.
Yeah, but just with Storm instead of put one creature onto the board.
Yeah, and all of the creatures it creates have Storm as well.
Yeah.
It's kind of just an egregious mechanic that the Monk tokens also have prowess. Why? Why do they have prowess? In any case,
it's like every spell is a
overrun.
Overrun or a grape shot with in like what's it called, potent or whatever it's called, for each monk that you have that has summoning sickness.
Yeah. So
I think this is gonna be rough for Julian. He did what he could, but a miracle happened twice from Bryant, and unfortunately, it seems like he's gonna lock down this game.
Yep. I mean, we're storming off.
Yeah. Yeah. This is like playing the Pauper before they banned like the Mesmeric Wall or whatever, where you just like bounce all your opponent creatures and land, and then
with Ghostly Flicker, Wall, Cloud of Fairies, I believe was the combo, and you need
and then the Storm card that bounced like all the
Temporal Fissure.
Yeah, exactly. That's the card.
I just know all the cards. I believe this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus 5 plus 5. All right, so the 2 cantrips are lethal.
I really like. I don't know if you guys noticed, but Magic Online, not Moto, but Magic Online really upgraded how you can yield to all and yield yes to all and put them on the stack. Yeah. It used to be very hard to not time when you had a Monster Mentor, but now it's super easy. You just put the one unique trigger on the stack, and then everything follows.
All right, so that was a good demonstration of how, even though Julian got to draw a lot of cards off the Glimpse, Terminus just got to clean up all of them.
Yeah, and also it got to showcase how well Elves is to get back on the board.
Yep.
So we have. What do you think that Bryant is going to board here, Jarvis? You're the most experienced blue mage in this commentary booth.
Oh, you think so?
Yes.
I would side in Engineered Explosives for sure. Then the other cards are debatable, I think.
Yeah. So it looks like he's taking out the Search for Scanta.
Yeah. So I guess part of that is if Bryant wants to side in the second Back to Basics, you would side out the Search, right?
Yep. I actually played Miracles. I played in GP Minneapolis. I played against April King, and she said that the Back to Basics is actually like kind of a random card against Elves. Sometimes it's good, but most often it's kind of bad. So I don't know if he wants to board in the second one. I can see it when Julian has like a lot of non-basics, which Elves often has. That it can do some work if you really get him off guard, but I don't know how much impact or how high impact it will have like in the course of the game.
Yeah, so in my mind, the question is, do you want Disenchant? Do you want the Back to Basics? Or do you want something like Vidalian Click, right?
Yeah. So he could be afraid of a potential choke because he just saw me playing the 3, and that's why he really wants to put in the Disenchant. But Julian is only playing 1.
I'm sure the choke is definitely on his mind now. That game.
But as we saw before, he never really got to like utilize the power of the Search for Scanta. So that's why he's probably boarding it out, because it's not really what he wants. he wants to rely on the Terminus and the engineered explosive. So I think he's set on. Yeah, he did submit the deck, so he doesn't board in the Vendilion Cleave. He keeps the one back to basics. So he only boarded in one engineered explosives, I think, right?
Yeah, and I think that's a fine plan until you know more about your opponent's deck in a post-board game. It's probably slightly, and also kind of most of his cards are actually good in the matchup, or reasonable, at least reasonable. You just want to trade a bunch and land a Jace, I think, is the plan again.
Yeah, I'm not blind. I just zoomed in on the video. It's just my monitor is just so small, so my face was just mega. So welcome back to Miracles versus Elves. Brian Cook versus Julian Knab. I'm Michael Bonde. This is Jarvis Yu, for the Legacy Premier League, and we're in game 2. Brian is up 1 game against Julian. So, what do you think about the hands, Jarvis?
Julian's hand is pretty good. I would not mulligan. Brian's hand was not great. It was 5 lands and something.
A 4-drop.
It was mulligan too quickly, and I agree with the decision to mulligan, obviously.
Yeah. It was a Jace for 4 lands or 5 lands, and then a draw spell, I think.
Bryant scried Island to the top.
Yeah.
That's pretty good, because I think you're going to need a few more lands to operate. You're going to need 2 more lands, I think, at least.
Yeah, when you have Jace is it's such a powerful card, but it's still just 4 mana, so... Yep. You kind of want to draw it on turn 6 or turn 5, where you actually stabilized, you used all your resources, and then you could just slam it and start building up your resource bank. But here it is a mulligan.
Oh, so we get to see surgical extraction as Cabal therapy here.
Yeah, and for the island.
So he knew Bryant scried to the top. So it messes with that too.
Yeah. So he didn't even. This is a pretty good. This is a pretty nice play from Brian. Is writing scum in the chat.
I mean,
but Julian also practiced last week on stream. He practiced the land destruction elves.
Land destruction elves.
Yeah, he played against some Tesserator deck, and then he started sapping the land. Yeah,
yes. Rex Sage with Symbiote.
Yeah, so he's in the mindset. He's ready for this negating the land from the top of the deck.
All right, so I think Julian also gets to see Brian's exact configuration, which I think people somewhat overvalue sometimes, but here, when you get to snag a second ponder from your opponent's hand and shuffle away their scry, it's just an added bonus to see their configuration.
It puts Bryant in a pretty hard situation where he has to do basically get a fetch land from the top of his deck with the potent. Or double land, if he gets 2 or 3 lands, it's also fine. But at the moment, his hand doesn't really do anything. The Sword to Plowshares kind of helps if Julian should go off in a couple of turns. Yeah, and it looks like there's an additional Sword to Plowshares, a Spell Pierce, and an Island. So it's not the best, but it's definitely not the worst for Bryant here.
So it was Island.
Spell Pierce and Spell Pierce. And Brian put back the Spell Pierce second from the top, so he's going to draw it here so that he can have the swords and have the Spell Pierce in the same turn. So this is pretty well played from Brian, making the best use of his resources.
Oops, forgot the one in the yard. I think that's actually not going to be a deal breaker that he didn't surgical the ponder in the graveyard.
No, probably not.
All right, so Bryant probably not thrilled to see another glimpse of nature because he spent a Spell Pierce on the last one.
Yeah.
But so at the same time, like, how threatening do you think it is to have a glimpse right there?
I think it's like there was just some noise in the Skype. Can you repeat the question, Jarvis?
How threatening do you think that glimpse is?
I think it's pretty threatening because it gives Julian like a way to actually like get a lot of resources, whereas right now it's like a stall. Bryant knows that he has to be like a bit lucky, draw a specific card from the top of the deck or a brainstorm, and Julian really just wants to get up to 5 mana for the Nissa. So it was pretty good for Julian. It was not that good for Bryant, but fortunately Julian like stopped his chain, and Bryant got to kill the creature.
Yep.
The thing is here, Julian actually has, like, he doesn't need 5 mana. He can only, like, if he only had 4 mana, it would also be fine because he has the Crayon Ranger.
Yep, because it allows you to make a land drop again.
Yeah. So he really wanted to just like get a land here and see if he could play like the Cable Therapy, and then next turn he'll try to deploy the Nissa through a hand that he knows that doesn't have a counterspell.
So he named Jace with that, which I think is correct, because he already knew that Bryant's other card was Terminus, and there was just one unknown card.
Yep.
And I think the Jace is the most likely way the game can get out of hand for Julian.
Yeah, I think that he could probably wait one more turn, but then Bryant can have like a counterspell to take it away. And he's not going to play it in 2 turns because he wants to deploy Nissa in 2 turns.
Right.
So the question here is if Julian actually plays the Heritage Druid. I would not think that he does. No, he's not going to play it.
Good point in chat is if you leave the removal, your Nissa doesn't care about removal, really.
It is true.
That's kind of an awkward draw for Julian.
Yeah.
The Cradle, because it actually incentivizes Bryant to kill this random 1/1 elf.
But the thing is, Bryant doesn't really know that Julian has a Nissa in hand. So right now it's just a Quirion Ranger that doesn't really like put that much pressure, and he has an engineered explosive. So I think Bryant thinks that he's like
safe.
He's safe. He's sitting behind this Quirion Ranger, and he can deal with pretty much whatever happens. The thing is, if Julian boarded into Terminus, or not Terminus, Progenitus, then Bryant is probably thinking, did he or did he not? Should I kill this Quirion Ranger right away?
Right.
But he's thinking that he's enough ahead. And because he played the land, Julian knows that Nissa is going to resolve here.
Yep, so you just signed Nissa, and do you want to return something, or do you want to make a 5/5 attacking?
I think you would like to... Yeah, I actually don't know. What do you have? You don't really have anything, right? You have a Wooded Foothills.
All right, so probably make a 5/5.
Yeah, just putting him on the spot. I'm quite unsure why he would... he's probably afraid of the Crater Roof here. But Nissa is gonna get to the battlefield. Then she's gonna swing for 5 with an elemental.
So here's one thing I didn't like about not using the explosives. You can't really expect Julian to play more creatures into explosives, right?
That is true, but it is also like it's hard because explosives is really gonna like wreck the board. Like if he goes off with a glimpse, right. And he doesn't know that there's a Nissa in hand, so it is like a dance between the two players. Which card does Julian have? And Julian knows what Bryant has. So Julian could also be like trying to next level Bryant, and Bryant is probably not as familiar with miracles as he knows that Julian is with the Elves deck. So it is a dance between two players, and it was a decision that came out, like in hindsight, it came out poorly, but it's hard to know in the situation.
Yeah, I don't think it was necessarily wrong. I just think it was an interesting point.
Yeah, I agree. right here, Julian really has everything that he wants against.
The king is so perfect here, because you definitely mentor is one of the ways Bryant could dig out of this game.
Yeah, the fun thing here is that Julian is probably also considering if he should take away the engineered explosives and just go for like double creature, attack for 5, and next turn play the Crater Hoof, because he knows that Bryant only has Terminus, and if Bryant draws a Terminus, then he knows that he's gonna kill the mentor himself.
Yeah, he chooses not to do that, which I think is probably slightly safer.
Yeah, I agree. It was just you saw him tap the mana, and then he was like, there is actually 2 plays, so let's see if it's actually better. And then he probably did the calculator.
Forcible, not really the card you want to draw there. And Bryant packs it in because, it's going to be really hard to beat that Nissa.
Yeah. So this was an interesting match. It didn't really turn out the way that Bryant was hoping for. And Nissa stole the game, or like she did what Julian has her for. So
attack every turn.
Yeah, yeah. Running through like Terminus and engineered explosives. So I really like the cards. So let's see if Julian is doing something else. Is Mike just trolling us with showing us that he forgot to take away the ponder?
Yeah, I guess so. You know what? Nissa Vital Force is still legal and standard for right now.
Yeah.
Doesn't it feel like it's been forever that it's been illegal and standard?
Yeah,
two years.
But I think we're the minority here playing standard, Jarvis. So
yeah. Just a funny comment.
Yeah, it does feel forever.
It is about to leave, though.
Yeah. So we see here that Julian is actually like keeping in not keeping in. He boarded out like the triple natural order and then the progenitors. It stays in the board, so he doesn't even have it in. So Bryant should not be afraid of it, even though he probably still is. But he has the council's judgment. So okay, I was a little too fast on my.
I don't know. I think Terminus is the best answer to Prevenice.
Yeah.
Like, you're just built in, protected from it in your deck.
Yeah, I agree.
The one thing that is interesting to note is that Julian cited out the Grid Hoofs currently.
Oh, Jarvis, the thing that we're seeing here, I thought it was like Overvolts is trolling. It's Julian that's seeing which cards that Bryant has in his deck.
Yeah. No,
I'm slow.
He took a screenshot after he circled the screen.
Yeah.
People can't do this in real life because it takes way too long to. No, you're not allowed to do that in real life. Obviously, that's just slow play. But you're definitely allowed to do so. Julian's hand looks great to me.
Yeah.
And
he boarded out. Yeah, sorry, yours. What are you saying?
Bryant's hand also looks pretty good. Obviously, the Portent really wants to find a land, but you still have a Brainstorm next turn, even if you miss.
Yeah. I think both players just keeps. Bryant could mulligan if he's really afraid of not drawing a land, but I think when you play like so many cantrips, you keep hands like this.
Agreed.
Because you are in the draw though, but I think he's got a potent like turn 1 to either shuffle or like keep them on top, and then he has brainstorms to like if he has to shuffle. So, but I can definitely see if you're not like accustomed to playing miracles that much. I don't want to. I think Brian is playing Storm like most of the time. Maybe he's just playing secretly. He's playing miracles all the time. But I would keep this as well, and I think he found that that's what you do when you play so many cantrips. But he did not find anything here, so he's going to shuffle, and then hopefully
sweat. The other awkward part of that is it makes your predicts a lot worse if you have to shuffle.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, and by the way, to those who just tuned in after the sideboard, we're in game 3. We have Bryant Cook on Miracles, and we have Julian Knab on Elves. So it's 1-1, and Bryant lost the second game, so he was on the play this game. And fortunately for him, he drew an island.
Yep. So
and now we see... Sorry?
I was going to ask you if you would brainstorm or portent there.
I think you should be afraid of brainstorm locking yourself.
The thing about that is, it actually wouldn't be a brainstorm lock because you can use project to clear away the card, right?
I agree. I can definitely see that, but then you use your entire next turn to like cast predict, and then you only have 1 mana left, so you really want one of the cards to be Sword to Plowshares, which you don't know yet. Right. So I like portenting to get like the full value out of a portent here.
That's fair enough. Someone in chat pointed out, Julian's Glimpse of Nature actually has Ancestral Recall Pyramid in the background. Or in his hand, it looked like an Ancestral Recall.
Oh yeah, so Julian has like...
I love that, actually.
Julian has like all these... if you saw the Terminus as well, it has like some meme thing where it's spitting a rainbow out of its mouth.
Sure. Oh wow, Julian's gonna get to do a lot of stuff this turn.
Yeah, and so he's gonna play Wireward Symbiote so that he can untap the Llanowar Elf and bounce the Heritage Druid, so that he gets to draw an additional card, or he gets 1 more mana.
And nice thing about this is he's not that exposed to engineering explosives. It will kill just the Wirewood Symbiote.
Yeah, and then he's probably gonna bounce the Visionary Response.
Yeah. Well,
or the Llanowar Elf in
response. I think just slam the Llanowar Elves. Wow, Bryant's not very safe here. Actually, he doesn't know that, but Julian drew another Glimpse.
Yeah, and a Thoughtseize. So I would presume that we're gonna see a Abrupt Decay here on the Monastery Mentor.
Right.
Through the Verdant Catacomb, and then Julian will see that we have a space to deploy the Sylvan Library without it being countered. And I think Sylvan Library is key in matchups like these.
I actually think there's a chance Julian just goes for broke and just glimpses.
Yeah, I could see that as well, Jarvis. It depends on how he probably knows better how the what's it called, like how often you win on this spot. And as you say, that he's going off with the mana and glimpse.
Well, the thing is, you have a lot of redraws because you have Wirewood Symbiote, right?
Yeah.
And also, you don't actually have to combo all the way off. You just have to develop a good enough board that you're safe from the Mentor, right?
Yeah. The thing is here, if he's gonna get a Wirewood Symbiote or a Burclub Ranger.
Well, the problem with getting Virtual Rangers is your Glimpse chain ends, right?
It does, but it's right now he needs to be somewhat lucky to like keep on chaining, and he has a lot of resources in his hand. He gets to like kill the Mentor, he gets to Cable Therapy, whatever in his hand, or kill the Engineered Explosives.
That is a good point. The real question is, should you... Well, here's the other thing. He doesn't actually have Critterhoof in his deck, right?
No. So it's all value.
Yeah. So you can't actually glimpse all the way off, right?
No, but I would think that he's finding the Burglar. Like, he must be thinking about it at least.
He is. You saw his cursor hovering over it for a second.
Yeah.
Then it went back down, and now he's just considering what to do.
Yeah, because I think you need to... You kind of want to deploy, like, the Sylvan Library so that you can, like, continue. to draw a lot of cards next turn, but you also want to kill the Monastery Mentor so that Bryant doesn't win, because Bryant really needs to find gas from 1 mana, because he needs to like pop the Engineered Explosives, and then you draw your Elves Visionary, and then you get to like continue next turn. So it is a tough spot, because if he gets the Wyward Symbiote, he's gonna like continue. And then he's gonna take 2 cards into his hand next turn. But he did get the Burstal Ranger here. Which is the safer play.
It is a safe play. Now the real question is, do you kill the explosives or the mentor, actually? I think that's the actual interesting decision.
I think you kill the mentor and then you deploy the Sylvan Library next turn. And then you probably take... Jarvis, I don't know. I would kill the mentor here, because I think it's one of the only ways that
you can lose.
Yeah, that you can use like right now, because if Bryant has to like ponder and then pop the Engineered Explosive next turn, it's not that awful, but it is because he uses like his entire turn.
Yep. And Julian was checking to see if he could still play the Sylvan Library, but he couldn't. Yeah,
he could not.
Yep.
Ooh. So this is actually pretty cool. Bryant has to cast pop the Engineered Explosives here. Right. And Julian knows that he has like a Snapcaster in his hand. So he's gonna get 2 if he plays the Cable Therapy and blind naming one of the Snapcasters.
Yep, that's pretty good.
It's lucky at least that was the draw from...
Well, if Bryant takes the island here, he can brainstorm in response to the Cabal Therapy, right?
Yeah. Also, there's a Jace Island and a Monastery Mentor. He is probably going to take the island then.
Yeah. Because the Jace is just so natural to play the Jace next turn as it is. Yeah. Honestly, we might see a swing back in this game.
So I think Julian is going to bounce the Visionary here.
Great.
Yes, it is an interesting development of the game, because Julian didn't really he was like 1 black mana short or 1 mana short to deploying Sylvan Library, which would have been like insane on this board. But now he's gonna either bounce an elf, so one of the Wonder of Elves, and just keep the Elvish Visionary so that all the glimpses and all the Wyward Symbiotes are like live for a more grind.
And also your Cradle taps for mana to begin with if you do that.
Yeah. But I would imagine that he really wants to play the Cable Therapy here, naming the Snapcaster. But Bryant is prepared.
Yep.
And then we have the sub-game Cable Therapy.
Yes.
What?
Well, so it's here because he can flashback Cabal Therapy. So I don't think you're supposed to leave any cards he knows about in your hand.
No, but it is a fun sub game. Like there are masters of Cable Therapy naming.
Yes. See, Julian still named the
Snapcaster.
Snapcaster, because the problem is he didn't have a really good read on what else could be in Bryant's hand. So I think you were supposed to put both of the Snapcasters on top. But the one issue with that is you don't want the Jace to get therapied, right?
Yeah, like it's
actually now that I think about it more, I actually like this play more. Yeah. Because you need that Jace, right?
Yeah, to get back in the game. So I think it's fine. But I do think that the Bryant is gonna play the Mentor into Ponder.
Well, I am worried he isn't. Wait, what? Yeah, therapy is the Mentor.
Yes. And then
Jace. And I believe Jace is a better card than Sylvan Library. I don't know about you.
If your opponent has the Lightning Bolt, I'm just saying.
Lightning Bolt from an Elves deck.
You have Bertel Renter, so it's a possibility. But yeah, it is. Jace the Mind Sculptor is, of course, a completely broken card when it's left unchecked. So this is a bit interesting because is Bryant gonna shuffle his back to basics away right now? If Julian taps out, it's the best it gets basically ever. So I think like going forward, if he shuffles here, he should probably board out the back to basics.
Look at that Sylvan Library from Julian. It's just 3 lands.
Yeah.
That's not what you want to see versus a Jace Mind Sculptor.
It is not.
So
I think in this spot, I probably would have just paid the 8 life and played the Dryad Arbor.
Well, so one reason not to do that is to just use your fetch to shuffle and hope you hit a string of good cards next turn. Yeah,
I agree. And also he had the Pendlehaven. I don't know why I missed that one. I'm used to like the DCI promo in real life. Or at least like I've been.
Oh, you don't use the Legends one?
I use it on Magic Online. I'm just trying to make a bad excuse why I missed it. I think this play is way better because then he gets to draw like the actual cards for the life. His life is spar some resource because it's 16 damage to draw 4 cards. So
those are cards that Bryant really doesn't want to see. Like the back to basics is almost completely dead, given how many lands Julian has, and the fact that it just doesn't do that much on this board state.
Yeah, but it is fodder to a Force of Will, so I think he's gonna put down the fetch land and the ponder, and then he's gonna kill off the visionary with the Council's Judgment and just keep like a Force of Will in the backhand.
So one problem I foresee with that plan is I actually think Sylvan Library is a lot more threatening.
Yeah, it was just merely to keep Jace alive, to be honest. So
I think we could probably let our Jace go, or we can ponder first to decide what we should actually do. Right? That's probably the way overall.
Yeah, that is what Bryant went with as well. We're seeing Counterbalance, Force of Will, and a Predict. So it's not something that makes Jace survive, but it helps us dig even further down.
I think you should just trade your judgment for the Sylvan Library and just accept your Jace dying. And
because Julian probably has he kept in the second Dryad Arbor, or has the second Dryad Arbor.
Exactly. So you couldn't actually protect your Jace from attacks. So I think letting it go is probably better.
Yeah, especially with Predict, he's gonna draw 2 cards, so he'll get up to 3 cards in his turn. I guess there's potential that he'll get the cards that he needs. So this is going to be fun if Julian's going to attack with both creatures or only one creature.
Yep.
Like on the Jace, he's going to attack with both creatures, but
I think you cannot risk Bryant having drawn a Source of Plowshares. That's just like very little gain. You're giving up 1 damage to make sure the Jace dies.
Yeah. So this would have been an insane draw if Julian would have drawn a Wirewood Symbiote.
Agreed.
He did not. He drew a Heritage Druid, which he's keeping for a potential Glimpse of Nature. He knows that the game can easily be reset with the Terminus because no one has come to play yet. So he's just playing it safe, keeping a Heritage Druid for later turns.
Right.
It is a 4-turn clock. As it is right now, so it's not.
Yes. Second counterbalance. That's not really what you want to see. I think the plow probably keeps you safe for a little bit, though.
Yeah, the thing is, if Julian draws a Greater Hoof, it's just game over.
But we know he didn't leave in any hoofs, right?
That is true, but from Bryant's side of the.
That's true.
So he can't really rely on the swords to be.
Yeah, Cavern is good versus Counterbalance though, which is nice.
Yep, it is a very sweet interaction that even though it says it gets countered, the Cavern of Soul negates that clause by saying that the spell you cast cannot be countered. When I played Elves, I actually, like a lot of the games, I found out that when you're playing against Miracles, the games always go so insanely long that sometimes it's just the correct play to play it on turn 2 or turn 3 and just say Beast. Because you're going to win if you resolve the Crater Hoof later.
That's a pretty interesting point, actually. I hadn't thought about that, but that is a great point.
If your opponent plays Counterbalance and it gets to resolve and you can't deal with it, then of course you have to play it and say Elf. I'm unsure if you can bounce it if it gets a Forest with Nissa or if it just gets an Elemental.
A blind Terminus! It's so good here!
It is pretty good, yeah.
That was
look at the
line, right?
Yeah, but it is what the deck does. Sometimes it just like
that is Hain style right there.
And for those of you who don't know, Alexander Hain from Canada won a Pro Tour with all the miracles from Avacyn Restored in his deck. Not all the miracles, but like the blue whites.
It had Devastation Tide in it. Don't you worry. Also, I believe that deck had like a 43 win% in the constructed portion of that PT. So, props to Alex. I just want to lead some beats on him because he makes fun of me all the time.
So, this is kind of awkward for Julian because he really needs a Glimpse of Nature so that he can get a creature and shuffle his deck. Because he has like 2 Elvish Visionary on the bottom, which is one of the cards that he needs to get back into the game.
Right.
And the Force of Will in Bryant's hand is a potential counterspell right now. It's 5 mana counterspell.
Traumatic Visions is what I call it usually.
Yeah. So he probably is just going to fire it off here if he doesn't blind flip.
Yep, I would. I mean, that speeds up the clock. That becomes a 3-turn clock instead of a 5-turn clock. If you don't counterspell that.
So he showed a Flooded Strand on the Counterbalance.
Ooh, Visionary is a nice pickup here.
Yes. It's fun that every time the Elves deck sees a Visionary, you just get like super happy. It's just a random comment from Charge of Lara.
Yep, it's just a really good card.
This is also a very good card. It gets to deal with the Terminus, or with the Counterbalance, but it also gets a Wildwood Symbiote through a Counterbalance.
The interesting question is what number should you pick?
Yeah. Because Julian has the opportunity to counter on every single, or Bryant, on every single converted mana cost except 7. 2, 3, 4...
7, yeah, but you can't do it for 7, right? You can't cast X equals 7 this turn, which is a problem. You can do exactly X equals 6. Oh no, he has no... actually, that would have been safe. But he just chooses to get the damage in instead, which I think is fine.
Why would it have been safe?
So if you do it for X equals 6, it's a 7 mana spell, and there are no 7 drops in.
Oh, yeah, okay. But I actually also think that that Bryant has run out of 3 drops. He has like 1 Monetary Mentor left.
Well, at the Back to Basics.
Oh yeah, so he has 2. Yes, 1 Monetary Mentor and 1 Back to Basics. So Julian is gonna go with 3 because he saw like Bryant's list last turn, and he can see in the graveyard. So you saw him like control shift. So let's see if Bryant is gonna random flip the.
Yeah. King 64. Julian sided out all the Gerhoffs.
So he got to resolve. So he's gonna take the Visionary here, and then the fun thing is if Julian thinks that he's gonna like burst Bryant in 2 turns, or if he's gonna like think that this is gonna take like 3 to 5 turns more to actually win the game. If so, he's going to bounce the Elves Visionary here.
Well,
depending on what he saw on the counterbalance, but because he can also play the Gas Cradle and just replay it, right?
Interestingly, Bryant didn't even flip.
Yeah, but then it's just not a 3-drop. Oh no, he can see it.
Right. He did not flip. Oh, Bryant knows Snapcaster on top? I didn't see... Okay. If we know Snapcaster on top, you should not return the Visionary this turn.
He's just going to play a Visionary. But how does he know the Snapcaster on top? Am I missing something?
He revealed for the first Visionary, just to see if you wanted to shuffle away.
Yeah, okay.
Right. That, which obviously makes sense. Obviously that makes sense, but it was hard for us to tell because it happened a little bit fast.
Okay, well, then it makes perfectly sense to...
Yeah, so what do you do with this Snapcaster?
I think your head explodes.
I think you have to cast a cantrip of some sorts.
Yes. I would presume that you're going to cast a Portent.
Yes. I would also lean towards that, but obviously I don't know what Brian's going to do.
No. I think casting Portent, you get to snipe with a Terminus in Julian's turn, and then you're back to status quo. You also get to get one card and then shuffle afterwards, so it's the same as Ponder, because you don't really have anything that you really want to play this turn. You could also play Brainstorm, but I think in the end it does the same as Portent, just without the Terminus upside.
So one point you can make is that if somehow Bryant had an 8th mana source, you could Snapcaster Terminus.
Yes.
Obviously, doesn't look like that he's going for that line, because you'd have to draw a land and also not do anything this turn.
Yeah. But he's choosing to ponder here to see if he can get some action.
So you see a Jace, a Plow, and a land? That's probably good enough, right?
Yeah, the thing is, he really wants to deploy the Jace, because Plow doesn't do anything on this board. Because he knows that Julian will attack and probably have a card in his hand. So let's see. He's probably just gonna slam the Jace and maybe plus it so that it doesn't die, and just cross his fingers and hope that he doesn't die next turn.
Agree with that. The question is, who do you plus on?
I think Julian.
Okay.
It could be both, because you're gonna Brainstorm next turn regardless, and you're gonna draw a random card from the top of your deck. It could be a Terminus. If it's a Terminus that you see it, you're gonna... Yeah, I don't know. I think it's close, but there's probably a right and a wrong decision. If you do it on yourself, it's because you want to optimize your Terminus draw. If you do it on Julian, it's because you're afraid that he's gonna die, or that you're gonna die next turn to a Glimpse.
So the other flip side to that is...
Oh, you get to choose on the counterbalance as well. So it's probably better to just use it on yourself.
You're probably supposed to do it to yourself.
Yeah.
He bottomed the Mentor, I think, because I don't think the Mentor does that much.
I think he kept it on top because he didn't show on the Visionary, right?
But the problem with... Well, actually... That might be good enough.
I think his plan is to not die this turn, then play Mentor, then Brainstorm into a cantrip, and then he's stabilized.
That's fair. I don't know if he left it on top or not.
This is, on the other hand, an insane match. I thought that I had to commentate on a Storm deck that would win or lose in 3 minutes.
But he is playing deck.
Yeah, that is true. And now
Mike is telling us that he did bottom it.
Okay.
I think that's a fine decision as well.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I think both ways have their pros and cons.
Yep. The thing is, if he gets the Terminus, then it's game over.
Yep.
So I can definitely see that he optimizes his chances of drawing one of the 3 Terminus. So he's down to, is it 21 cards? 21 cards in his library, so 3 out of 21.
So a fetch land would actually be really nice here for Julian instead of having the Dryad Arbor in his hand.
Yeah, I hate
that too. Yeah.
Jarvis, I hate that Dryad Arbor. I hate it.
Yes, that's fair. All right. Terminus?
Mentor.
Huh.
So no, he couldn't have put it on the bottom, right? He plays 3 mentors. I don't think he plays one in the sideboard.
Let's see. Mentor plus plow is probably good enough to stabilize. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is instead of cantrip, then this time it's Sword to Plowshares. This is what I thought he kept it on top. That's why he didn't show on the visionary, so that he could get a line of play that's kind of similar to this one.
I see. Mike is saying whatever clicking no does on Jace, he did. But the no actually indicates that you do not want to bottom it, right?
Yes, so he put it on top. And it also makes sense because he didn't show on the visionary.
Yep, exactly. Also, decay is not lethal because you could just plow your own mentor to stay alive.
Yep.
So I think this is actually going to work pretty well. I think you're supposed to put the back to basics on top.
Do you? Maybe.
Yeah, just in case if you get to Cavern or Counterbalance 3 somehow. I mean, it's not likely, but the problem is playing the fetch is bad because you actually want to have the plow in your hand this turn.
And I really think that this game, like, there's been so many decisions and actually also tough decisions. So this really showcases how hard a game of Magic is. Just between 2 random decks. So everyone can say, like, yeah, you did a misplay here, you did a misplay here. But they're in, like, the zone, and they're really, like, thinking, how can I win this game, and what usually happens in the matchups. So right here, it's even more fun because he's dead on board, right? But he has to Sword to Plowshares to plow his own mentor and block a creature. So even here, it's just like this is a unique scenario. I haven't seen this before.
No. You don't actually have to plow your own creature. You just plow one of the attacking creatures.
Oh yeah, and then block. Yeah, that is true. I was hoping for something spicy. That is true. You'll get 3 versus 3.
So you might actually get the read on the surgical. Or is Julian going all in? Oh no, this is not going to work great for him.
Well, he gets rid of the monk token and he gets rid of the Snapcaster, so it's not really that horrible for him.
Why do you have to swords your own creature?
Is he sourcing?
It's 3-on-3 creatures, right? Because you make a monk, so you just block mentor on 1/1, 2.
Yeah.
I mean, you just block all of the things.
Yes. And then Julian will be left with 1 creature.
Yeah.
And then he's going to deploy 2 additional creatures, and then I think we're going to see a surgical in the upkeep.
Surgical in the upkeep?
Oh, no, in the draw step, sorry. Not in the upkeep.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. I think Julian should just play all of his creatures now, though.
Yeah, I think he's going to deploy 2 creatures, and then he's going to see if he can get rid of the... Yeah, I actually don't know what... Maybe the Swords to Plowshares?
I don't know. It gets really complicated now.
Yeah.
The interesting part of this is if Julian had led on Surgical, I think this goes a bit better for him because he just chooses not to attack, right?
Yeah.
What did he select Swords to Plowshares? He did.
Yeah.
This is good because I think he's correctly identifying that Bryant probably needs his mentor to at least stabilize the board.
Yeah.
And if you Terminus your own thing, then you just have to find a Vital Force for the Jace.
Yeah.
To win the game.
I agree. But also, again, as we saw in like game 2, it wasn't game 1. Julian is thinking, how can Bryant win this game? So He's not thinking, how can I lose this game because he's behind, but he's like, how can Bryant win this game and how can I win this game from that spot? And Bryant can definitely win the game with the swords, and Julian cannot win a game through a single Swords to Plowshares from this spot. So I think he's like analyzing, and so he's gonna have Bryant blank on the next card, like to brainstorm, and then only one token. And then hopefully it's enough to win the game.
Brainstorm. Excellent draw.
Brainstorm. Let's storm.
Wow, that is truly excellent. Interesting that Mountain is in the deck.
Is it a Cypher card?
I can check that real quick to tell you. Nope, it's in the main deck.
Yeah, so it's probably just because he has like X amount of land sources and he doesn't want to go down on them when he plays Jace. Right. The Mountain is probably so that he can play like the back to basics against like the other control decks and the Delver decks. Because he did play the 3 blasts and the 2 back to basics.
So he's going to try to set up another trap here.
Ooh, Julian should have played 3, like the one who won the previous game. then it probably would have been impactful.
I heard a wonderful guy like that. Oh wow, this brainstorm is backbreaking, I think.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I would have given a very small amount of consideration to keeping the Pierce, but I think it's okay to shuffle it away as well. The reason to keep the Pierce is you can spell Pierce your own brainstorm.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure he brainstormed with Jace, Lord Darkview. But yeah, this brainstorm is a blowout.
It's pretty much, when there's only 3 creatures on the board, it does the same as the sword did last turn. So yeah. Julian is just like, he got burned, but he's just running it back and getting burned again. And
this is a nice pickup. Forcible for the choke is going to be pretty good.
Yeah. And also, he's probably going to force the choke so that he gets an additional monk. And then he's probably going to bounce the leftover creature and start smashing probably. But he could also go like even more controllers and do the brainstorm thing.
I probably would brainstorm.
Yeah.
But I really think the world is Bryant's oyster now.
Yeah. I agree. He will get, like, it's a fun game because even though there's a Jace, a Counterbalance, and a Monastery Mentor, it's still like super swingy because he's at 1. Like, you can really see here how much the difference between 1 and in this case a 3 life total. So let's see what he's gonna draw. A Potent. That's a pretty good card.
So actually would consider casting Portent on our opponent here.
Yep, I can definitely see that one.
It's just, I mean, it's just so good to make sure Julian draws like a bunch of bad cards. Or you can Portent, put like 1-drops on top. Well, I guess now we can't. That's actually pretty awful for, but yeah, it's probably
the good old 3 brainstorms or 3 blanks.
Right. Yeah.
It's like Bonesaw in Oath of Zendikar or whatever. It was also a blank.
Oath of the Gatewatch?
Oath of the Gatewatch, yeah.
Yeah, we shuffled away the explosives, which I think is correct. Now, the question is, do you play Run Decay by only attacking the Mentor? Probably. I think you're so far ahead that you should try to play around all terrible possibilities, which he did.
Yeah. I think I would probably have played, like, I definitely see why he wants to play as he did, but I think I would have smelled a little more blood and trying to potent my opponent to see if I can lock him out of anything, and then bounce the Arbor.
Okay.
And then next turn you can what Julian is drawing regardless, so you can like brainstorm in that turn instead of. So I would have done it a little bit different, but I can definitely see this is the more. You see a lot of your own cards because you think that your deck is gonna give you what you need in the end, and it did. So now he's storming off in best Jarvis style.
I'm not a Storm Wizard, but I guess I am a Mentor Wizard. I do enjoy Mentor. Ooh, the Back to Basics is actually pretty good here. Because it shuts the Pendelhaven, so it means you can just trade a creature. Yeah,
so I think here you're going to plus it. You're going to plus the Jason, I think.
You're so far ahead, plus the Back to Basics shuts off the Pendelhaven. Or...
Okay. So he's going to brainstorm here.
Do you put a 1 on top, probably?
What I didn't even see what he put on top. Either Terminus or the 1. But yeah, I guess the 1 is... Yeah. Again, you have to say, how can I lose this game? I can lose through a Greater Hoof. But I can't really do anything about that. So I can lose through a glimpse of nature. And then...
oh, wow.
Let's see if he put a 1. He did put a 1. Okay. Yeah. So I think this is GG. This has been a wonderful match game.
This match was great, actually. I think great to watch. Lots of decisions.
Yeah. And I think both players really did a great job of getting the most out of their resources, whereas Bryant eventually came out on top. So, Jarvis, it's not every day that you get to see insane magic on Twitch. You get to see someone's stream, which is also nice, but not a real tournament where you just like are having fun seeing like crucial decisions. So we should say thank you to the sponsors, right?
Yes, we should. MTG First, the EpicStorm.com, Card Hoarder, and Cardboard.live. They all sponsor this. Cardboard.live. They all sponsor this tournament series, and thanks for their support. And if you need any cards, check out Card Hoarder.
Yeah. And also thanks to Mike Overvoltage and Julian Sabasa to make this possible, and for all the players. So again, Card Hoarder, Cardboard.live, MTG First, and the Epic Storm. Thank you very much, guys, for helping us doing this. And Jarvis, it has been so much of a pleasure to commentate with you, as always.
It's always a great with you, too.